She cries. She cries in anguish and in pain. She bears the scourge of her grief. She toils in vain for justice and succumbs to silence. He gloats over his malady. Like a beast, he pounces with no remorse. Her cry means nothing. Her pain feeds her shame. Like an orphan, she's left to grieve in solitude. But no more will she cry in vain. Her adversaries will henceforth bear the brunt of their cruelty. Rape is evil. Rape is a plague, a pandemic of monumental consequences. We must unite and kick it out of our society.
Connect with NTA and stand against rape and rapists. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
I am one in 5 Africans. I am a Nobel Prize winner, a soccer champion, a giant of literature, a musical icon. My roots lie in the dusty Sahel of the north, in the rich rainforests of the east, in the savanna plains of the west, and in the oil-filled swamps of the delta. My strength flows from the waters of the Niger and the Benue. Nigeria is my home. I am the voice of 200 tribes speaking more than 200 languages. I am the laughter of the world's happiest people. I am my brother's keeper. I am a child in one of the youngest nations on earth. I am the passion. I am the soul of a continent. I am a Nigerian.
Welcome to Abuja, the place that unites Nigeria.
Hello once again and welcome to the stories trending at this hour. I'm Ayodeji Makinde. Nigeria, United States and other 81 countries are meeting this Tuesday to review the strategy towards defeating ISIS. The meeting, which will hold virtually, is under the auspices of the Global Coalition to Defeat ISIS. U.S. State Department in a statement says the gathering is to affirm the commitment to countering the threat of ISIS and its branches worldwide, including West Africa. It will deliberate ongoing international efforts in the region. The meeting will also focus on ways to strengthen collective approach in specific areas such as battlefield evidence and border security. Members of the ECOWAS Parliament are holding talks with the ECOWAS Commission in order to take stock of the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on agricultural production and food security in the West African region. A meeting of Parliament's joint committees on agriculture, environment and natural resources, industry and private sector, health, energy and mining, as well as that of social affairs, gender and women empowerment, holding in Guinea-Bissau, is analyzing reports from experts in the Commission, response opportunities to mitigate impact of the pandemic on food security. ECOWAS member states have already set up various mechanisms to coordinate the management and fight against the pandemic. The main objectives are to preserve human lives, contain spread of the virus, and of course, palliative measures in favor of vulnerable populations, establish systems to protect economies, and develop social safety nets across the region. Moving on now, President Muhammadu Buhari has welcomed the arrival of the first effective coronavirus vaccine after a successful human trial phase. The president, in a statement by the Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, described the development as a major milestone in medical advancement. He, however, cautioned that the world must unite in facilitating the equitable access and distribution of these vaccines to protect people in all countries. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has confirmed new cases of COVID-19, bringing a total of 94 and then a total of 64,184 discharged, 60,069 with 1,150 deaths have so far been recorded. Amadou Toumani Toure died during the night of Monday to Tuesday in Turkey, where he had been taken for health challenges. A former army general, Toure won acclaim for democratic reforms after he helped topple the country's longtime dictator, Moussa Traoré, but he was himself ousted in a military coup in 2012 amid a major offensive by Tuareg rebels and jihadist militants in the country's restive north. Those are the trending stories at this time. Thanks for being part of it. I'm Ayodeji Makinde.
The U.S. presidential elections have come and gone, but there's still a legal minefield to navigate for the winners and losers of what has now become one of America's most fractious elections. As President-elect Biden constitutes his COVID-19 task force, we look at the impact of the pandemic in our climate and other public health issues, policies, operationalization and oversight functions in this critical sector will be x-rayed. Also on Political Update today, INEC weighs options on conduct of 15 outstanding by-elections. I am Fisayo Ogunfuyi. Welcome. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden has commenced the process of giving shape and direction to his government. Joe Biden made his first appointment, naming a group of scientists and experts who will lead his administration's response to COVID-19. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump is still putting up legal challenges to election results in some key states. Let's get the latest installment of the U.S. presidential election saga.
Biden is due to meet with an advisory board led by former Surgeon General Vivek Murthy and former Food and Drug Administration Commissioner David Kessler to examine how best to tame the pandemic that has killed more than 237,000 Americans. The Democratic former vice president will then give remarks in Wilmington, Delaware, about his plans for tackling COVID-19 and rebuilding the economy. But Donald Trump has not acknowledged defeat and has launched an array of lawsuits to press claims of election fraud, for which he has produced no evidence. State officials say they are not aware of any significant irregularities. Trump has no public events scheduled for Monday, and he has not spoken in public since Thursday. As part of a public campaign to question the election results, he is planning to hold rallies to build support for his fight over the outcome.
Back home, President Muhammadu Buhari has reminded Nigerian youths that keeping the peace is in their interest, as everything being done by government is to guarantee a sustainable future for them to live more meaningfully. The president was speaking at an audience with the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed.
Responding to the recent NSAS protests as well as the mayhem and destruction of property that came in his wake, President Muhammadu Buhari maintains that his own generation is on the last lap of exiting the stage, but the youth, as future leaders, want jobs, infrastructure, and development for a better life. Achieving these, he however says, can only be made possible if the youth take more responsibility in keeping the peace. The president explains that their views, loudly and genuinely expressed recently, have been heard and appropriate responsive measures taken by government. The severe infrastructure deficit, for instance, inherited by his administration, he said, is being corrected within the limits of resources. President Buhari also touched on the devastating effect of COVID-19 on global economy, lives and livelihoods, saying Nigeria is also concerned about the recharge of Lake Chad, which has great implications on security as well as irregular migration. The Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, and her delegation are on a solidarity visit to 5 West African countries, beginning with Nigeria, as the battle against COVID-19 continues.
All of that really was to express our support for socioeconomic responses, because we believe that the stimulus packages that countries are putting forward are ones that can be used to spend ensuring a recovery that will be better when this pandemic is over. As with most countries today, in the north we're finding trillions of dollars that have been spent on their own stimulus packages. However, the barriers to accessing the resources and some of the conditionalities to allow for developing countries like ours in this region has remained quite difficult. The response from the global community, from the G20, has not been as forthcoming. So we're also here to hear what some of those barriers are, why, where we can assist in amplifying the ask to help more liquidity, more moratoriums on debt, so that it's not a question of not paying the debt.
Discussions with the president also centered on climate change, security, political, developmental, and humanitarian issues, as well as the recent NSAS protests in parts of the country.
It was, of course, one that the Secretary General, we all were alarmed and, of course, support the country in trying to get back on track. Young people and their demands for social justice, for governance, are all legitimate ones, and they must be done peacefully. What we all, I think, were disturbed by and concerned by was the level of damage, the level of loss of lives, and we continue to condole those families who suffered those losses. I have to say that, you know, there are many protests around this world that have been exacerbated by COVID, because COVID has left people out of work, it's left people hopeless because of the socioeconomic impacts. And in many of those protests, we have not seen governments turn around and respond as quickly as this government did. So the UN's response to this is that we must make sure that what happened in these protests is we are able to address those issues, those gaps, and to begin the reform. In fact, I would say the transformations that are needed.
The UN Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed and her team are expected to visit Borno, one of the states badly affected by the Boko Haram insurgency, on a fact-finding mission Tuesday.
The Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dari, says what the country needs now is robust engagement with the youths towards finding lasting solutions to the critical issues they have raised. The minister was speaking in Delta State during an interactive session with youths in that state.
The interactive session began with the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dari, reeling out some of the federal government programs targeted at improving the welfare of young people in the country, from economic empowerment to agriculture and political participation. However, this gathering of youth leaders of different ethnic groups in the states, civil societies, organizations, women and other groups at the Unity Hall in Asaba is to know what the youth want government to do in a bid to close the gap between them and those in government.
The NSAS protest is a protest that is aimed at expressing various degree of anger from the youth. We want them to do more. What he has been able to tell us today, fine, we need more hands. Other ministers should come for a session like this.
It's part of the call by the Nigerian youths for good governance and greater inclusions of the most active population of the country.
The minister rounded off the meeting with the youth in this manner.
We have achieved the kind of conversation, crucial conversation, that we want to see going forward between the youth and also the government. I will make sure that this is communicated to the ministers, to the presidency, and then we can start to work on some of this.
Following the NSAS protest, stakeholders have been on the mission to know the challenges confronting youth in order to provide solutions to them.
Protest after pandemic. Now, one of the first main tasks before the President-elect of the United States, Joe Biden, is to confront the sheer scale and urgency of America's burgeoning public health crisis. It has been a year of the pandemic, with many economies suffering huge losses. Here in Nigeria, the nation committed its resources in considerable number to combat the pandemic. The strain on the health sector is significant, and other tropical, waterborne and zoonotic diseases have not gone away either. Today we are being joined by Dr. Tanko Sununu, Chairman, House Committee on Healthcare Services. Doctor, thank you for taking time off your very busy schedule to be part of this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Let's just start immediately and look at where are we in terms of combating the pandemic and bringing it under control.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to shed light on this issue. Well, as we all know that globally we have faced challenges that so far was enormous, can be described to be worse than World War. Because if you consider World War, some segment of the world are spared. But if you look at the COVID-19, virtually all the human endeavors, economy, health, agriculture, education, what have you, are all affected. And this came to the world as a shock, because there was no country that is prepared for it. And mostly at times we thought that certain countries or certain part of the world have a resilient system of health that can withstand shock. But unfortunately, as you rightly mentioned, the COVID-19 demystified virtually everybody. Now in Nigeria, it also came to us as a shock. And when it came, the first, even before it arrives in Nigeria, the National Assembly, especially the House of Reps, as part of proactive measures, we invited the Director General, Nigeria Center of Disease Control, to come and update us on what we have. And prior to that, we also look at, my committee look at where are we as far as preparation. And we realized at that time, we only have 2 laboratories in the country that conveniently said, this is a molecular lab that can diagnose COVID-19. So we together came together, developed a motion of urgent public importance, calling on the federal government to direct effort in doing things that we think can salvage this country. And as today, when we look at where we were before with 2, we have over more than 70 molecular laboratories that can test COVID-19. And also, as we came down, as at that time there was fear in terms of the personnel that can confront suspected case of COVID-19, because as at that time there was limitation or limited availability of personal protective equipment. And if you look at the current position pledge that all doctors swore to, says take care of yourself so that you can get enough time to take care of others. A doctor that is sick cannot. So also advocate that the federal government should do more to ensure that our first line of defense are also given more protection with increased availability of our personal protective equipment. Right, now, when you look at also that the capacity, even as at that time, because it's a new disease, protocol was even absent. But as today we have both healthcare protocol, but I must say that all is not being done. There is a second surge of COVID-19 in some part of the world. And then here also, we must know what we have learned from COVID, we are yet to address it. It exposed that our healthcare delivery is on its knees. And so many fora has been, we have attended so many meetings to address such issues.
Okay, let's look at the latest. In some climes, we understand that, they are close to full-scale deployment of anti-COVID-19, drugs, having recorded 99% success in the test phase. Are we abreast of this development?
We are abreast of this development, and even in Nigeria, it's not that we're not doing much. You understand? The COVID-19 that also told us to go into collaboration. I'm happy to tell you now that we have a collaboration between Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, Lagos, and then the Usman Dan Fodio University, Sokoto, to develop a center that can give us the hope that in the next few years, we can be able to say that we have a center that can develop a vaccine. We had a meeting with both the NIMA DG and also the Vice Chancellor of Usman Dan Fodio University, Sokoto. And we are currently working towards that. But I must say that while also we are looking at COVID-19, there are other endemic diseases that we shouldn't forget. We are focusing in that discussion also to see how we can look at the development of Lassa fever vaccine that has killed so many people in the country. So we want to change the focus. Rather than the health center being just centered to, we are looking towards development of resilient status so that anything that comes cannot interfere with our usual activities. For example, when the COVID came, all those who have chronic diseases that have been attended to prior to COVID lost their follow-up, lost their clinical hours, lost a lot of consultation, so that the damage done by those diseases outnumber the people that died as a result of COVID. So this is a serious lesson that we must have a system of healthcare delivery that can take care of chronic conditions, even when there is health emergency. And that's what we mean by health security.
All right, let's take a few more reports. INEC Chairman, Professor Atairu Jega, has handed over to a serving National Commissioner, Ahmed Muazu, as acting chairman, pending Senate's confirmation of his second term in office.
Syndicate groups everywhere at the INEC conference hall, and the topic was one. Is the INEC chairman handing over or resuming? But obviously no one was in position to give an answer. Not even the spokesman of the commission, Festus Okoye. Camera operators putting their equipment in the best of condition. No excuses for audio failure while waiting for the INEC boss. Few minutes later, Mahmoud Yakubu, the chairman of INEC, in his characteristic manner, with a fun-filled look, arrived and put an end to all speculations.
It will be inappropriate for me to remain in office beyond today, 9th November 2020, without confirmation by the Senate and swearing to another oath of office as provided by law. Pending the conclusion of the statutory process, the remaining national commissioners have resolved that Air Vice Marshal Ahmed Muazu, retired, will oversee the affairs of the commission. It is therefore my pleasure to hand over to him in the interim.
Speculations put to rest. Fresh word from the new man.
I want to assure you all that I will handle the affairs, the routine affairs of the commission with all due diligence. Thank you so much.
That marks the end of the first half of Professor Mahmood Yakubu's chairmanship in the INEC. Many in their remarks said he played a good one and expect him to even play a better one in his second coming, pending the decision the Senate will take in the confirmation process. While the INEC chairman temporarily stepped aside, another national commissioner, Abubakar Nuachi, resigned voluntarily.
Meanwhile, the acting chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Ahmed Muazu, has begun the process of conducting the 15 outstanding by-elections in 11 states, earlier scheduled for the 31st of last month. The commission is meeting with political parties on a possible date for the elections.
The MC asked all to stand up as the acting chair moves in. Betty screams, "No! Sit." Everyone goes laughing. That brief show set the meeting between INEC and political parties on an interesting note, though many joined via Zoom.
To consult with you regarding the pending 15 by-elections in 15 constituencies across 11 states of the Federation.
These elections would have been over by now, if not of the NSAS protest, because they were scheduled for October 31st, 2020, but postponed for security reasons. Even in this meeting, there was a protest again. Two factions of IPAC claimed leadership, but the acting chair steps in promptly.
But for the purpose of this meeting, please let us just proceed.
Orderliness restored, the meeting continues, and the journey to fixing a date for the elections begins. Next was the state of the continuous voter exercise.
Now, on the continuous voter registration, the CVR, the Commission intends to roll out the nationwide program in the first quarter of 2021.
The media, civil society organizations, and security agencies are on the lineup for similar meetings before a date for the elections will be taken. Mayor Ogede, NTA News.
All right, we're back, and we still have the Chairman House Committee on Healthcare Services, Dr. Nanku Sununu, here with us. Just like we said earlier, even in the US, the focus is getting COVID-19 response together, making sure that society gets back on an even keel because of the toll of the pandemic on the economy and on, the citizenry in general. Now, in terms of a scorecard, have we done well in, containing this pandemic?
Well, I can score us above average at least, because if you look at where we are, and also the investment that was done in the healthcare delivery system, you know that the federal government has really acted in the right direction. Currently, in the 2020 budget, the releases to the Federal Ministry of Health is almost 100% in all MDAs, and that shows that we are very soon will get a health system that will be effective. And also that virtually all our 54 tertiary institutions are now expected to have a molecular laboratory that will add to the 74 we have. Already, okay. And all this, a lot have been done to that addition. Initially, we cannot boast, or we boast of very few limited number of isolation centers. But with support of NCDC and the Ministry of Health, centers are now coming up for isolation. And this isolation is not only for COVID. We are in tropical countries. We have emerging and emerging diseases. We have meningitis. We have so many things that can come that may require isolation. And we'll be left with, or even the Lassa fever too, needs isolation. And very few centers have an isolation system. The advent of COVID made that possible.
Let me, because we don't have too much time, let me quickly go to this. What is happening right now is budget defense and all that, and I'm sure you're chairing one of the committees. I understand that your committee sent back 4 budget proposals. Why?
Well, we sent back some MDAs back for budget preparation because what we consider budget is a constitutional matter, and it must follow constitutional processes. For example, what is the main reason? The main reason is that our budget has a lot of deficit. Our budget is dependent on open borrowing to complement, and it has a lot of addition. And when you can look at also the fiscal parameter and assumption that was done in the budget, like saying that the crude oil will be $40 per barrel, production of oil of 1.86 million, and also the fact that we are going to do an exchange rate of 379 this thing. When you now look at it, the global market and global international, especially with COVID-19 and some countries going into lockdown, you know that definitely reality of getting that, we must go back and look at it closely. And how do you go back and look at it closely? I'm one of the person that believe that we must pay much attention to domestic funding of health, rather than over dependence on foreign funding. So most of the NDA that we have sent back could not justify to the committee the evidence that they have remitted what is expected to them by the act to the federal government. And we thought that cannot be acceptable. Let them go back, reconcile, bring the evidence that they have remitted. Those who have spent it will make a refund to the federal government treasury and then bring forward back the evidence that that has been done. Otherwise, we move to the next measures to address the issues. But we must know that we need money to fund the budget. And that budget, we must look at inward first before we can go out start borrowing.
Okay, not so much time. Yeah, from your constituency's case in Kebbi State, there was a flood while the pandemic was on. Yes. There was an issue of flood, very sorry case. But what are the interventions to make sure that those communities get back on an even keel?
Actually, when you know the flood has really devastated the whole Kebbi State, and what is the impact? The impact is that Kebbi is one of the baskets for the food security of the country. Not only rice. Rice, we are championing in rice. But I tell you, we have maize. We have so many products that you cannot tell that you can mention. Even the cassava that government is looking towards ethanol production of oil. We have it plenty in the Kebbi. So we also have mineral resources. But if you look at all these areas now are devastated. The main food security of rice, why are we worried? The whole area was submerged. And then you must know that rice has peculiar in terms of soil demand from sandy and other soil. So what we now see, so much sand has came into Kebbi State and virtually covered all the land that we can use to plant rice. And that means it will affect us. And what's part of it is also came with a lot of infestation, like snake bites. Currently, even just 3 days ago, I have to write to the Federal Ministry of Health to include my own constituency, Yauri, as part of snake-designated treatment centers because the area is so infested. You have so many cases of snake bites. So when you look at also that many people lost their properties, you understand? And then there are a lot of erosion that came and made destruction. So we are estimating, even as House of Rep Committee, we estimated that Kebbi will have lost over 15 to 20 billion. And we are looking for the federal government to make an intervention.
I wanted
and we
to
are
say,
still going to make effort in this project.
In a very short word, what about personally your intervention in your state in terms of constituency projects that you have helped to alleviate the...
In terms of constituency projects, I look at education. For example, I've done so much. We are renovating school, and we have also introduced scholarship to both postgraduate, and very soon we are going to award scholarship to female, and we have provided hostel accommodation for them. And we are looking at there are some needies who cannot go into other school that we have already enrolled them, and we are paying to school, especially some private school that we are enrolling them. So also when you look at empowerment, we have done so much empowerment in agricultural sector, and we are going to do that also in youth development very soon.
Talking about interventions, we cannot, we might probably get you back in, yes, especially in terms of the flood issues and how those societies are getting back on their feet. We've had Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sunu, who is the Chairman House Committee on Healthcare Services on today's program. We'll also be tracking that. We'll also be tracking some litigations, post-election litigations from the United States. So the world's best democracy too has one or two things, challenges to solve. My name is Fisal Kofi. Thanking you for being a part of today's edition of Political Updates. We'll be back on Friday, God willing, to serve you a fresh package. Bye bye now.
This is the network service of the NTA.
What's a cake without the icing? Unfinished. And the same can be said for a look that neglects the nails. Easily the most overlooked aspect of self-care, unkept nails undermine all the efforts you put into the rest of your appearance. For this reason, our self-care series continues today with a focus on nails. It's your weekly survey of style and culture across the globe. I am Onyeka Shioba, and this is Today's Style.
My name is Amir Abraham and I'm the spa director of the Nail Bar. Our sole focus here is on the health and well-being of the nails, hands and feet, and your body in general.
On the show today, who knew taking care of your nails could be so luxurious? The spa director of the Nail Bar balances her passion for nail care and education. She also shares some exclusive tips. Meet the man behind Wale Beauty Palace, the top nail artist beautifying women across the capital. We chat with the CEO as he shares his passions, motivation, and the journey so far in the beauty business. The top 20 nail trends of 2020. Which look will you make your summer go-to? For close to a decade, the Nail Bar has been setting a luxurious precedent for beauty services, with a focus on the health and care of nails. The spa director spoke to us about her brand's unique approach and gave us some necessary pointers on keeping your nails looking nourished and beautiful. In March of 2011, the landscape of beauty services in Abuja left a lot to be desired. And for Amira Abraham, it was the perfect opportunity to channel her passion for nail care and all things beauty into a unique and upscale destination for luxury nail treatments beyond the classic manicure and pedicure.
I had just graduated from university and I had come back for NYSC. I already had a beauty qualification and I thought to myself, okay, this has been a long-standing hobby for me. I need to monetize it, as it were, because I wasn't too keen on, any jobs that were out there at the time. And in doing my research, I found out that there was actually no nail spa. There were lots of spas, but none, dedicated solely to the art of nail care. So it was an open market waiting to be tapped, and that's how the Nail Bar came about. I think one of the good things that I had going was that I was actually qualified. So up until recently, a lot of beauty business owners were sort of seen as, bored housewives or people that just have the disposable income and they can just open up a salon or something on the side. So for me, I took it more from a professional approach. Like, guess what, guys? This is a real industry and it's something that can be done just as well as banking or just as well as IT or any other sort of professional job that the Nigerian market sees, So I took it on professionally. I made sure to go through the route of, our counterparts in every other country in the world. I tried to bring a global standard. So whatever service you get here will be, compared to something you get in the US or in the UK, and it will be just as good, if not even better.
With the health of the natural nail as the central focus, Abraham developed a range of organic, non-toxic and professional products using carefully sourced ingredients for the first Nigerian gel polish and lacquer brand of its kind.
Most of the things I'd seen on the market, it was polish that you would wear and essentially it would stain your nails. and that's never a good, that's a red flag for any nail polish. And I thought, okay, how can I create something that's homegrown? Mali Cosmetics is my other baby, and it's a non-toxic nail care brand. So essentially what that means is that there are no harmful chemicals in there. It's vegan friendly, it's cruelty free. That simply means if you're vegan or vegetarian, you can use our nail polish. It doesn't have any animal byproducts in it. It's cruelty free in the sense that we did not test them on animals. And I think the key thing is the non-toxicity, because a lot of people don't realize that with nail polish, there can be harmful effects if it contains toxic chemicals. So for example, things like formaldehyde, that causes cancer. Things like toluene, that causes infertility. So it's very important to look out for these things when you're choosing your nail polish. I really, really have a passion for streamlining all the raw talent that we have out there. Nigerian nail techs, manicurists, and pedicurists are one of the most talented I've come across, and it's just a case of fine-tuning them to a professional standard. And I thought, okay, how do I say I want to educate or share this knowledge that I have if I don't have a homegrown product to teach with? And so that's how Amali came about, having a world-class standard product to impart world-class education.
Abraham shares some of that world-class education with the Nail Bar's simple steps for the perfect mani-pedi.
With our manicures and pedicures, our sole focus is preserving the health of the natural nail, and with that we keep it very simple. With the manicures, it's a simple 4-step, 6-step, depending on what manicure you're getting done specifically, and this is typically customized to meet your needs. It's not just one size fits all. First step is trimming or filing of the nails, and we always make sure to do that in one direction because we don't want to cause damage to the nail beds or to cause any cracking or splintering. There's the pushing back of the cuticles. You can trim them if they're excessive. If they're not, simply push them back. And then applying a treatment to the actual nail beds depending on what it is that you need. Some manicures include a scrub, some don't. Some include a mask, some don't. Completely depends. There is always a moisturizing hand massage afterwards, and then you can have any polish application of your choice. And the same goes for pedicures as well. So the difference with the manicure and pedicure is that obviously you soak your feet into the pedi spas, and this is simply just to soften any calluses that you may have. These are filed away, your toenails are also shaped and filed, your cuticles are pushed back as they are on the hands. You have a scrub applied just to get rid of any dead cells on the feet. You can also have a mask applied for added moisture. Again, as usual, it ends with a foot massage with foot lotion applied. We have more of a natural nail care approach to things. So we do offer nail extensions, but our clients are more inclined to preserving their natural beauty. So even when we do acrylics or gel extensions or silk or fiberglass overlays, it's still very natural.
The dynamic spa director has been featured in numerous media outlets, exploring her mission to put the Nigerian nail care industry on the map by delivering professional treatments, educating nail technicians on global best practices, and delivering premium quality service. As an industry educator, Abraham has lent her expertise to the Spa and Wellness Association of Africa, first as an executive committee chair for Nigeria, and most recently as a board director.
Essentially what we do is just streamline the industry, bringing about standards for our industry, making sure that we are on par with our counterparts in other parts of the world. Particularly now with COVID-19, the biggest thing on our minds is getting as much information across on health and safety, on sanitation, on disinfection, on sterilization. These are all very different things, and a lot of people feel that maybe wiping down with Dettol is good enough. Meanwhile, that's not the case. In the spa and wellness industry, you need to be essentially cleaning at a medical grade level because you're dealing with people's bodies. So that's been at the forefront of our campaign this year. We're still big on regulation, making sure that we have the qualified therapists carrying out treatments and not, anybody that could potentially cause injury because they're not doing things the right way. The decision to have the spa section, which is called the wellness box, was simply because I found that people prefer a one-stop shop. They don't want to have to do their nails here and then drive somewhere else to get a massage or whatever it is. And with beauty school, you learn everything. So it's not like you just go in and say, I just want to learn how to do manicures and pedicures. So you learn everything. So these were skills I already had. And it was now a case of setting it up to an equally high standard and then offering those services that complement the manicures and pedicures that we offer.
The spa director shared with us the leverage of a strong brand identity and the details that go into creating a truly luxurious nail spa experience.
With any business, I think it's so important to know who you are. Craft out your brand identity from the very beginning. Know what your structure is, know what your processes are, and know exactly what your focus is. It's very easy to get distracted when there are new businesses coming in, on a daily basis even. But I think what keeps us going is just being true to our ethos, staying true to our brand identity, and constantly innovating. So we're not just going to jump on any new trend because that's what's happening, We know who we are and we sort of stick to that and improve on that as we go along based on our customers' feedback. It's all about the spa journey for us. So if you look around, there's a systematic flow as to how things work. And that's simply just for the convenience of the customer and ease of fluidity, as it were. It's very important to know your brand identity. Like I said at the beginning, your brand identity will determine how you set up your space, your aesthetics and things like that. So for us, it's clear, it's minimal, and nothing that's not needed being included. And I think there's something very understated and luxurious about that.
For the carefully curated aesthetic, every detail communicates an important message, from the minimal setup to a generous feature of the color purple.
Because it's my favorite color. No, but also because it represents tranquility and wellness and peace of mind, particularly the color lavender. And again, it's a personal favorite of mine. It's also a color that's associated with royalty, and we feel like everybody who's a part of our family is very important. So.
The sentiment of royalty follows us to Wale's Beauty Palace, where the CEO is making quite a name for himself through the precision and artistry that dominate his craft. For the next few minutes, let's get lost in the glossy, polished, and always colorful world of Wale's nails. Several years before he would realize his artistic calling, the now CEO of Wale Beauty Palace was making plans to become a lawyer. In the Lagos suburb of Amoor, he grew up in a large family, and with the expectations and responsibilities leveled on him, it wasn't an easy decision to make such a dramatic career switch. But after his O-levels, he took the plunge and decided to fully embrace his creative pursuits.
Growing up, I found myself drawing and painting and all sorts, even dancing, writing music. So everything that has been around my life is about art. I was doing artwork, like I used to carve, draw, and paint for people. I used to create these handmade greeting cards, print on banners, design mirrors, and all that. My other brother was already making hair, and then he advised me to go into nail making. I bought the idea and I went for training. The kind of society we found ourselves in, people will not actually accept that initially. But then you have a goal you're pursuing. You should have an innermost stuff that drives you to achieving your goal. Starting was not actually easy. Like, I would talk to babes on the street and they would be like, is that what you do? That job that they pay 30 naira to polish nails and all that, and I would be so embarrassed. But then I knew where I was driving at. Like, starting was very rough. I would convince babes to like do their nails. Like, I literally used to beg them to do their nails for free just to perfect what I had in. It was discouraging. But like I said, if you have something you want to achieve, you just go for it. After like 3 months like that, I started designing for customers, and when they come, they would tell my boss to just chill. When my boss finished the work, I would have to be the one to do the design. And from there, from Church Bus Stop area, I started working in Festac. Then from Festac, I came down to Abuja in 2007.
Rufai hired his first employee in 2009, and from there, the success story continued. The CEO of Wale Beauty Palace has come a long way from hustling for clients at the Church Bus Stop area. With 2 busy and fully staffed locations in Abuja, Wale Nails has become a household name in prestigious circles of the capital city. His standout designs are highly sought after by exclusive clientele, booking his services sometimes several weeks in advance.
One thing we do here is ensure our customers are really satisfied with the outcome of our services. Talking about our upcoming projects, we are working on having our own customized nails, like very well designed, and you can actually, as a client, tell us how you want your own nail to be like, and we get those designs as well. It doesn't have to be our own work. You can give us recommendations and we still get it delivered.
A brand of customized nails with the signature Wale touch is just one of Rufai's many artistic pursuits. Chalk it up to the enterprising Lagosian spirit, but for the young CEO, work never stops. While Rufai has become synonymous with nails, the artist doesn't want to be boxed in, finding different outlets to express his creativity as an actor and also a singer by the stage name Exodus.
I show up in short skits, like movies, then I write songs, I sing, I record, like I perform on stages as well.
I'm on the beat, baby, go slow. Chebo, shiny coco. Anywhere you dey, baby, just dey feel alright. Yeah, I'm on the beat, no be ghost mode. Chebo, shiny coco. Anywhere you dey, baby, just dey feel alright. Yeah. Anytime I step in, looking like a bad guy. Money in my bank and my pocket too. Anytime I spray, she dey pack.
This is what I do. A person that I am, I prefer to record musically at night. So, having done with my day-to-day activities in the nail studio, I just dash straight to music studio if I have to record at night, and I spend nights in the studio. It's really not easy. There is, they say that nothing good comes easy. It's the truth. For you to achieve a particular thing, you need to must have dedicated your time and energy to it. So it doesn't come easy.
The charismatic artist is a perfect encapsulation of youthful exuberance in pursuit of passion and living out one's dreams. Studied by his core principles, he says his journey is just getting started.
The journey can never be smooth. But then, okay, let's take coronavirus like an instance when we all planned and then the unplanned came to scatter the planned. What do you do as a business person? The resilience is what now keeps you to move forward. If your plan doesn't work out, you try to buckle up and then you plan again. It's not like the creativity is not there, but your creativity is not enough if you don't research. I spend most of my nights awake researching on new nail stuff, what's trending, and even before I get to work, to actualize what I've learned overnight, I'd already finished it in my head. So coming to work is just to like do a replay of what I must have crafted already in my head. So for anybody who wants to actually enhance whatever he or she has, the person has to always research. And the moment you stop learning in life, you start dying. Consistency is a key, like I always tell people. If you're consistent in what you're doing, and like I mentioned earlier, resilience as well. If you're consistent, definitely, and you do researches to always improve on what you do, definitely a good job will speak for itself. So that is what I've been doing. I've been consistent, I've been resilient, and I've always tried to improve on myself in terms of the service and packaging as well. The journey has been long though, but then it has even not gotten to where it's going to be. It has not gotten to its peak at the moment.
It's easy to understand why Rufai has built such a loyal base of employees and clientele. Besides his magnetic personality, his expert hand remains consistent, his curious mind always brimming with unpredictable ideas.
I believe in my brush a lot. The moment I handle the brush, like I do most of my thinking with my wrist. If there is a brush, then I think better. So this only time I get to sketch is just looking at an image I want to draw, then I draw it in my head, give me the brush, it will come to reality.
A perfect finish as we conclude this episode and our self-care series as well. It's been an exciting exploration of the vibrant talents of Nigeria's beauty industry. I'm sure you've learned a few things about caring for your hair, skin and nails. We look forward to your comments and feedback on our social media channel. For another exciting episode, be sure to tune in same time next week. Join us every Monday for an in-depth look at global style and culture on Africa's largest television network.
The counsel of our fathers